Thank you, President Lapidus, and thank you to Fitchburg State University for hosting us tonight. I'd also like to thank FATV for carrying this debate live to their viewers and also for allowing us to carry their feed on Sentinel and Enterprise.com, where we are including it with a live social media feed on tonight's debate. So I have 3 staffers here who will be tweeting furiously all night throughout the debate. And you can join the conversation by tweeting using hashtag #FitchburgDebate. We welcome tonight's audience to follow along or to join the conversation, as I said. And I thank the professor and Stephanie for their participation, and the candidates and you, the audience. We are joined this evening by the 4 candidates competing in next week's preliminary election. The top 2 vote-getters on Tuesday will move on to the general election in November. The seating order for our candidates tonight was drawn at random, and they are from the audience's left: Stephen DiNatale, Andrew Couture, Stephen P. Sandrelli,
thank you all,
and Miguel Fleitas, Jr. We will start the questions with Stephen DiNatale. The former Fitchburg City Hall at 718 Main Street has sat empty for more than a year, with the city's building office deeming the structure unsafe for occupancy. As mayor, what would you do with the building? Raise it, rebuild it, or permanently relocate municipal services?
Thank you, Mr. Sanamon, for that question. I believe that we had a committee or commission that was tasked with looking at what we would do with the existing City Hall. The findings from that committee were to retain City Hall on Main Street. I think we need to move in that direction to at least demonstrate to the city that we have not abandoned Main Street and that we want our City Hall on Main Street. There are many challenges associated with that, obviously financing. Our debt service will be met in 2019. I think we need to look at what we will do at that point with either rebuilding City Hall, using the existing facade, that was also a recommendation, or between now and then, I think we need to do something about where City Hall is today. It's not a user-friendly facility. And it also doesn't include all city departments. We have to move in that direction. So I'm hoping we have the resources, and I know we will in 2019, to bond further. But there will be other obligations that we need to address as well.
Mr. Couture.
Thank you. We absolutely have to rebuild City Hall. It's a historic building within the city, and it's the heart of our city. We need to take whatever steps necessary in order to be able to do that. Now, one of my ideas is to get the National Preservation of Historic Buildings in here to see what they can do to help us out. Start applying for grant money in order to be able to fix City Hall as it stands right now. We cannot wait until 2019 in order to do it. We have to start looking now and looking towards the future. Right now, our current City Hall is nothing more than cubicles. We need to bring back the heart of our city, which is currently the City Hall as it stands right now on Main Street.
The fact of the matter is, the City Hall is extremely valuable. What we need to do is do like they've done with the Constitution for many, many years. We need to start a drive, and we need to start fixing it up in phases. What we can do is we can start with getting a drive started in all the schools. I know for a fact now aluminum is being deposited in rubbish barrels, and basically waste management it's being shipped to their center, and what's happening, they're processing and making money off aluminum. Aluminum is extremely expensive to process, so every bit of aluminum we can recycle can go towards rebuilding these facilities. And not just that building, every other single structure in the city that we decide is historical and we want to save our history. We will not let our history fall waste to ashes. So thank you, and have a wonderful evening.
As I've been doing my internship at the Fitchburg Historical Society and seeing the pictures, the images of the past, the footsteps of City Hall and everything in the past, we need to save it. We need to rebuild it. It belongs to the people. It belongs to the city. I cannot wait to 2019. We can immediately start a funds, drives, and events, create events to create the money necessary. Even if I had to go other places to get the money, I will go other places to get the money. It is a building that belongs to the people of Fitchburg, and we need to bring it back, and that's what I would do under my candidacy as mayor.
We now have 2 minutes to further discuss this question amongst yourselves.
I think we all pretty much agree with the same thing. We want to see City Hall restored, and we all have different ways to do it. I think that we need to focus on what's important first. I think what we need to do is we need to utilize every single piece of property in the city in the most efficient way. And that means getting rid of any buildings that are standing that are causing a problem, and use those funds possibly to restore our city. And if people are not taking control of their property, then it's time for the city to.
Whoever the next mayor will be must involve the community and the citizens. Do not think that you're going to go do this by yourself. Everything I've been hearing in the past, every decision that I've been hearing in the past, doesn't even talk to the citizens. So the building belongs to the people of Fitchburg. Include them on every decision that is going to come towards the bringing back the building to be City Hall again.
Other comments? Okay. For those just tuning in then, we are at Fitchburg State University for the mayoral debate in advance of Tuesday's preliminary election. We will now move to question number 2. Josh, please ask Andrew his question.
Thank you. Opiate addiction is recognized as a statewide crisis, and Fitchburg is not immune. What, as mayor, would you do to address the opiate issue in this area, and how would you pay for it?
The opioid addiction in Fitchburg is currently a huge problem. We have to, one, crack down on the people who are bringing these poisons into our community, but two, extend a caring hand to the victims of this addiction. You know, Governor Baker right now is has put together plans in order to be able to combat the addiction in Massachusetts as a whole. Being a city in Massachusetts, we need to work with Governor Baker in order to be able to introduce these plans into our city in order to be able to have get control over the current situation.
Mr. Sandrelli.
I think if you're not medically trained or have personal experience lost through opiates, I think you will never understand opioids. Opioids stem from our doctors, our medical professionals, handing them out. So what needs to happen is they need to restructure it. And then we need to incorporate this kind of health care, what refers to as, if you want to call it mental health, or what you want to call it, you want to categorize another area. We should use mass health like we are using it now and incorporate it all in one single health plan. Now, if we need facilities separated, because some people, they don't want to go to a facility where there's opioid-addicted people. But the fact of the matter is, the only way you can ever help these people is you need a 63-day recovery program. That's what you need. That is the only, if you've read Brain by Design, you'll understand that's the only effective way to get over any kind of addiction. So you gentlemen can look into that and find out more about it if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about. That's the only way. I had a brother that died, hung from a tree for a half hour or more.
Up? Thank you.
Me next?
Yes.
No, I'm waiting for the applause for Mr. Sandrelli.
I don't need applause. I just want to get things done. I'm sick of looking around my city and being disgusted.
I agree with you.
Okay.
Look, I'm already speaking with leaders in the community, pastor, church, mosque, everybody. It's going to take the whole entire village to take care of this problem. We're going to have to include the state, the federal, and local law enforcement to deal with the dealers and get them out of the city. But we're also going to have to, bring community police and use also increase our budget in order to help those that need help. They need help. But then we also cannot continue doing it at 50% how we're doing it, because then they go back to the drugs. We either do 100% for them, or we're just not going to do anything, or they're going to continue to suffer. It is a disease that is killing our children. So let's go after the dealers. Let's also help those, but let's get the community together. Everybody, police, businesses, leaders, church, pastors, and let's get to work. Let's get it done. That's what I would do as mayor.
The legislature just recently passed legislation to address the opioid crisis. We have Senator Flanagan here this evening, who's also heading up that task force. What we need to do as a mayor, what your responsibility is to the community, the state is doing their part. We need to do our part, establishing coalitions. That's not just the churches. I've already talked to Pastor Mayo, Pastor Tomes, and Tom Hughes, who's not only a pastor, but also a teacher at the high school. Part of those coalitions will include parents and law enforcement as well. But that's what a mayor can do, and they can drive that issue and make sure that it gets addressed. But the issue has to be addressed at the state level initially, and that's what's happening. Thank you.
Again, we have 2 minutes to further discuss this question.
Hyperbole. Wasting more taxpayers' dollars instead of using the current system that we have called mass health to effectively solve this. Make it part of regular health care. That's what needs to be done. That's what you're incorrect. Just another waste of tax and spend money.
Yeah.
I can't direct to these gentlemen because, you know what? I haven't seen their actions, but for 14 years, 15 years, we've seen his actions.
My question to Representative DiNatale is, a lot of the things that goes through Beacon Hill fails. What are you going to do as mayor once it fails? You still going to be the leader and you're going to bring the help? I mean, just say you are going to be the leader and you're going to do it. You know, the state, yeah, okay, but what if it fails?
Other responses?
Stephen, any response to 15 years of failed policies?
No, I'm fine.
And a
Thank you.
city
Okay.
strapped with taxes?
All right.
I'm fine with
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Okay, let's move to question number 3, and that would be Stephanie asking Stephen the question.
Thank you. There is widespread agreement among local leaders that moving to a single tax rate for residential and commercial property owners is in the city's long-term interest. If you see the dual tax rate as a barrier to fiscal growth, would you recommend moving quicker to close the gap, even if it meant a significant one-year hike for residents?
No, I would not. What I would do, though, is I would work on bringing in new businesses. You know what our state rep and our state senator are supposed to do? They're supposed to be the lobbyists for the state. We're not supposed to hire people at $85,000 a year to come in and do the mayor's job. That's what we're not supposed to do. They're supposed to go out and lobby. How many businesses have you talked to outside of the city or outside of the state or even outside of the country that be willing to come here and relocate and create good paying jobs and a sustainable income, not built on gin joints on every corner?
Miguel?
I think that answered the question, Stephanie. Do you have anything else you want to say?
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you.
Look, in the last 5 years, we've seen the increase on residential and business. It has not worked. In Leominster, they have maintained and everything goes to Leominster. We need to become business friendly. My proposal as mayor is let's not increase the residential anymore. Let's also keep what it is right now in the commercial. Let's provide tax incentives. Let's become business friendly. Let's provide businesses coming to Fitchburg. And once they come in and we start getting revenue, they hire our local citizens will have money in the pocket. Money in the pocket means they're spent. That means our revenue will go up, budget will go up. Once that happens, then we can start lowering slowly, not at once because it cannot happen. We can start lowering slowly the business to what it is right now with the residential, and then from there we can go on to a single taxpayer.
Thank you. The dual tax rate is a failed policy, as evidenced by the fact that the chamber president and chamber president before him have always opposed or driven toward a single tax rate. We're the only city other than Clinton that has a dual tax rate. It's a difficult proposition, but you have to understand something, ladies and gentlemen, in the viewing public, but also here tonight. It's not the mayor's initiative. They can drive the issue, but the decision rests with the council. And the difficult aspect of that is what I'm proposing is over a 10-year period. The council changes on a regular basis, so that's the challenge. But we need to be more user-friendly. Businesses that can come into Fitchburg or go to other communities are experiencing a 40% decrease in what they have to pay in taxes. That in and of itself is a huge disincentive to come to Fitchburg. So this is what we need to do. We need to move toward that single tax rate, but the challenge is to be able to do it over a 10-year period so it doesn't overly burden the homeowner. Thank you.
I do support going to the single tax rate, but we have to do it slowly. I've been in contact with a lot of people who just can't afford it. People are at their breaking point right now. You know, what we have to do is bring businesses in now using a tax incentive plan in order to be able to make it affordable for businesses to come in. With my business plan, first of all, we would support and advocate the businesses that we already have in this city. 2, work with recruiting new businesses to come in here. 3, cutting the regulations that unfortunately are burdening our business and startup businesses that are coming into the city. And 4, get together a networking plan for all the businesses within Fitchburg. That way we can become business friendly. With more businesses coming into the city, we can then have a bigger tax base where we can then start moving towards that single tax rate without burdening the people of Fitchburg.
Thank you. Again, we have 2 minutes for further conversation. Miguel?
Yeah, let me go first.
Go ahead.
Look, over 10 years is way too long. I'm sorry. Over 10 years. The mayor's elections every 2 years. So that means that someone's going to have to be there 6 times almost, be elected 6 times in order to get the job done. We could do that quickly. You know, what's unique about me is I work at Home Depot cashier, and I speak to people there, and they tell me that the forms here, the applications to open a business is too lengthy, too hard-headed, and too too hard. So they go to Leominster, and it's nice and simple, nice and easy. Boom, done. We need to revise every form, and we need to immediately simplify them and make it easier, and make City Hall friendly, more friendly to them coming in.
I don't think it's an issue of the form. It's an issue of motivation. It's an issue of getting rid of the hyperbole, getting rid of the delaying taxes, shrinking government, and focusing on what drove this economy from the very beginning. It was entrepreneurship. It was the entrepreneurial spirit. That's what grows an economy, and nothing else.
Other comments? Okay, we will move to round 4. The debate in Fitchburg mayoral candidates here at Fitchburg State University. I ask Charlie to ask the next question to Miguel, please.
As the Sentinel and Enterprise recently reported, the city of Fitchburg has not met its minimum school spending requirement as determined by the state for 7 of the last 10 years. Will you promise now that you will make sure the city meets or exceeds its minimum spending requirement?
Now I'm only going to promise, I'm going to pledge that I will make it that it exceeds. I'm already pledging, out of my other candidates have pledged, that I will return $23,000 in mayor's salary to even expand the after-school program.
I think that's part of the problem is a systemic problem.
This is not a debate. So, Stephen?
Oh, I'm sorry. Net school spending is an obligation that we have to our school children and to the city of Fitchburg. We want to attract people to come and live in Fitchburg. That's one of the first things families look at, is the school system. We have been underfunding that for a number of years and paying for it through free cash, and that carries over to the following year. We're going to have challenges because we should be taking that money and funding it fully, but through the operating budget, which has its inherent difficulties in it as well. But that's what the challenge is going to be. Free cash should be only used for expenses that are one-time expenses, not reoccurring. That's why we need to approach it in that way. But again, it's a challenge. To get that money from somewhere else is going to be the challenge. But it is there. Thank you.
When dealing with our net spending in the schools, we have to find out, first of all, why are we underspending, and what are the problems? Meanwhile, we must maintain a proper educational curriculum, and we must maintain an adequate staffing level. Where do we find the money? Now, with my alternative energy program, which I would like to implement solar as well as wind around the school systems in order to be able to find this extra money. We spend $900,000 just on electricity for our schools alone. Now, that's money that we could cut in half using alternative energy in order to be able to cut this problem.
I think the situation comes down to this. I believe it's $35 million currently that we spend on our school system. We have to move away from all paper. We have to bring our kids in line with the future, and if that means making a deal with Metro PCS or another one of the big wireless companies and putting all educational materials online in a closed system, of course. Now, there's no guarantee that someone can't break into it, but the fact of the matter is we have to move away from all paper, and that will save us a great deal of money. And we'll find that money, and we'll be able to maintain that. Because I have 2 young people, 2 4-year-olds that just started, and I want for them what I had, growing up. I happen to grow up in the town of Arlington, and we had a great educational system. And I want to see the same for the people of this city. But I don't think having a dictate from the State House on how much we should spend determines whether we get an excellent education. What gives us an excellent education is our experiences. Yes, young man. Yes, our experiences, the people we meet that surround us, that are in our environment, that have culture, and they have come from anywhere in the world. We have to focus on that. You know, we have seniors that have wonderful talent that we're underutilizing. And the State College should be involved in every bit of education, any way we can to help the students, because they know for a fact that students learn better from each other in most cases than they learn from a teacher.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Again, we have 2 minutes for further conversation.
All the schools should be promoted. All the schools should be, the teachers should be, considered. I have two children, one at McKay, one at Fitchburg High School. I seen the lack of teachers and my children having one-on-one. They're special needs children. I work hard for them, but I want them to have the best education. And if I want it for my children, I want it for every child in the city. So we could do better. And I know I could, as mayor, I will bring leadership and try to get everything better for the school and promote also the college. Promote the college outside the country and then nationally.
Other responses? All right, and then that will take us to question number 5, and I will ask Josh to pose a question to Stephen.
Thank you. This is a question that came to us from Fitchburg resident Giselle Ortiz. The condition of the city's roads is a perennial concern.
I'm sorry.
Would you support putting a debt exclusion on the ballot to fund a major road repair project? If not, what would you do to get these roads fixed?
No, I wouldn't not do that. Oh,
Steve,
it's my question.
I'm sorry, that was my fault.
That is the number one concern that people have voiced to me going door to door, is the condition of the roads. The state, we just passed a budget that allocated $1.3 million to the city of Fitchburg in Chapter 90 funding. It's never enough. That will pave 3 to 4 miles of road in the city of Fitchburg. Miles. What I would pledge to you today is to examine free cash and use 10% of that to pave an additional road, again, given feedback from the engineering group of DPW and Commissioner Laxo's organization. But people have to understand something. In order for us to get to where we should be in terms of the roads, we would have to pave 10 miles of road a year for the next 5 years at a cost of $10 million. That's not realistic. So what I would propose is looking at a more conscious effort at patching efforts throughout the city and using different technologies to approach that. And I know Commissioner Laxo has already spoken to me about that. There are measures out there that we can take. They're realistic. That's what I would promote.
Thank you.
Chapter 90 funds are limited per year. That's obvious. So are our roads. Now, there's one thing that we can do to curb this issue. We can first take a look at how we're paving our roads and actually do something that is correct. Pave the roads correctly. Right now, look at the sewer separation project. The roads are obviously not being repaired properly after the work is done. The roads are being torn up, and only a haphazard job is being done to pave it. We need to take a look to see exactly what we can do to repair our roads the way they should be. One of my projects is for an asphalt recycler. Right now, we pay a company to recycle our own asphalt, and then they sell it right back to us. We can actually do that work ourselves and save twice as much money doing it ourselves. And all it costs is $3.50 a ton per chemical. That's it. And that would produce hot tar 365 days a year. No more coal patch. No more patch.
I think that's a wonderful idea. Is it my turn?
Yes.
I think that's a wonderful idea, but I don't think your neighbors are going to care too much to have the smell of that asphalt. I think we should look into new technologies, and I know there's a Japanese scientist who's come a long way with that. And I think we should invite anybody, whether they live in this country or they're from another country. If they have ideas that can solve our problems, but in the short term, let's put excise tax back where it belongs. Let's take it out of the general fund. Let's put it back where it belongs for roads and bridges. That's something that we need to do.
How many times are we going to patch our roof before we know we need a new roof? Come on. DPW is undermanned. We need to hire more people, and we need to get the funds there so they can go around the city and beautify the city. They don't even have enough manpower to go around and take care of the issues. So I propose that we immediately get to work and try to find the funding to put enough manpower there and get everything done so our roads can get fixed. Chapter 90, and even if I had to go to Washington, D.C. to get the money for the people so the people here could be safe and safe roads, I will do that as mayor. Enough is enough.
We have 2 minutes for additional comments. Anything?
Mr. Sandrelli, you stated something about the smell of asphalt. How is that any different than when they're currently patching the roads?
Because it's only temporary. You're talking about building a facility, because I know the technology.
It's not a facility. It's nothing more than a truck, an addition to a truck. That's all that is.
That follows behind on the road. So now would we buy that and we'd keep that? So we'd have to then depreciate that every year? Wouldn't it be easier to just bring in a contractor to do it, to look for the best possible bid, to bid it out?
No, because that's currently what we're doing.
So you want to then does that
we
mean
can save money by doing it ourselves.
Does that mean hiring more people?
No.
Adding to the city budget?
No, it would not. It would just be the purchase of this one vehicle. That's it.
Well, I'd like to see that,
Gardner has actually purchased one, and their roads are, I'm sorry to say, a lot better than ours. And Gardner is smaller than Fitchburg. Gardner has less roads than Fitchburg, and they're doing a fantastic job. We need this. Andrew,
I'm sorry, but you're just saying something that I don't agree with you, and I'm sorry. We do have a lot of roads. I mean, you said it. Gardner has small roads, and they don't have as much as us. Mm-hmm. What you're talking about is going to cost a lot more.
Not when we recycle.
Okay.
And most of them are state roads, so they're already state funded, so we don't have to worry about those roads to begin with.
Okay. Let us move on to question number 6, and I ask Stephanie to pose her question to Andrew, please.
Once again, the State Department of Elementary and Secondary Education will be reviewing a proposal for a second charter school within the city of Fitchburg. Do you think Fitchburg and the region need another charter school, and why or why not?
We have a definite problem when it comes to the choice between charter schools and public schools. Yes, it's true that charter schools do take away from some of the funding that our public schools get. But when you take a look at it as a whole, these charter schools don't just take children away from the Fitchburg public schools. They take them from all the surrounding areas. So it's not just Fitchburg. Parents should actually have a choice on where they send their children to school. And that by limiting the charter schools in Fitchburg, you're taking away those parents' choices. You're taking away their choice to say, I would prefer my child to go to private school. I would prefer my child to go to Catholic school. I would prefer my child to go to a charter school or to public school. It's the parent's choice. The parents should choose.
Is it my turn? What I know about charter schools is this. They only take certain students. So right away, it creates discrimination as far as I'm concerned. I've seen them. I don't know. Have you ever experienced charter schools? A lot of them in Florida. That was Jeb Bush's great idea. What it does is, instead of, we're a melting pot. What it does is it takes different groups and keeps them, instead of being inculcated into this wonderful melting pot that is the United States, what happens is they're all segregated. So if you believe in segregation, you believe in charter schools as far as I'm concerned. Public education should be in the public domain. You can think whatever you want, and you're wrong. Did you ever teach? Did you ever work in an educational institution? I want to know. No, come on. You all have an idea. Go ahead. You over there. You got a big mouth outside. You got a question?
Okay. Thank you.
I don't think any of you ever worked in an educational institution in any capacity.
All right.
Or ever built a program from nothing.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. We're not debating as a group here.
If you want to threaten me?
Enough.
If you want to threaten me, okay. Then how about this?
All right.
Do me a favor.
All right.
Keep your mouth shut. You know who's the loser?
All right. Let's.
Because you got no balls to stand up here in front of the public. You're a ballless bag.
Let us be respectful here, please. All right, Miguel, please.
Is it my turn?
Yes, it is.
Oh, this is fun. All right, look, I am not for any more charter school. I want to empower the public schools that we have now and empower the teachers. And by empowering the teachers is because majority of the children here in Fitchburg are on the poverty line, under the federal poverty line. They can't afford it, so we can't leave them. They don't have a choice. We need to empower the public schools and the teachers and help them and get all the resources we can and increase the budget so they can help out the children that cannot afford to go to a charter school. So.
Fitchburg has a charter school. That's the Sizer School. There's a wonderful relationship that we have with the charter school in Fitchburg and the school department in Fitchburg. The superintendent's office and his staff has put together what I think is choice that parents have. There are 9 schools in our city. They provide outstanding programming. We've gone from needs improvement to performance improvement, from performance improvement to the higher level. We are no longer an underperforming school district. We don't need another charter school in Fitchburg. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to understand something. The first year of a charter school, 100% of that funding is reimbursed by the state. For 5 years thereafter, 25%. You get to a point where we're going to cover the entire cost. And it doesn't include transportation. This is a burden that the school system in Fitchburg cannot bear. We don't need another charter school in Fitchburg.
Okay, we have 2 minutes for some civil conversation.
Stephen, you're absolutely right.
I second that.
Okay, that was good.
Thank you.
Mr. Sparrow, you know all about it.
For those just tuning in, we are here at Kent Recital Hall for the mayoral debate.
You're funny, huh? You're funny, huh? Should be a comedian.
Thank you for your comments. At this point, I'd like to ask Charlie to ask the question of Stephen Sandrelli.
Thank you. This is a question that comes from Nick Capasso, director of the Fitchburg Art Museum. As mayor, how will you support the transformation of the B.F. Brown School building and adjacent properties into a campus of artist apartments and studios?
I would think we'd have to go look at some private funding for that project. I know they have a wonderful facility in Sterling that I went to many years ago, where it was I don't know if anybody's been out there, but they made all sorts of pottery and art. I know, personally, I'm a collector of art, and so I have a great appreciation for art and expression. I think that we're going to have to look at private funding. I think if we want to rehab that building and have what you say, have basically an artist den where they can live and they can work and they can hopefully excel.
Being a student here at Fitchburg State University, I have worked with Mary Tinty in the museum, with Nature Tech, one of the events, and also One Language is Never Enough, Un lenguaje nunca es suficiente. And it gave me a great opportunity to look at the arts in Fitchburg. And I will welcome the artists to come and to be part of the community, and also the community see the great work. And that will bring people from all over to come to Fitchburg. And that to me means revenue. Revenue means more of a budget increase. However, for now, what I have is Mrs. Robinson out of Newton, Massachusetts. She has come over to a great museum. She comes out and she says, Miguel, I don't have no place for me to stay with my people and talk about what we saw. So I will work with Mr. Capasso in getting everything as mayor to get everything going for the Brown building.
The CDC in Fitchburg, the Community Development Corporation, has already launched the effort to make that artist housing at B.F. Brown. And what they're doing right now is studying whether or not they can house that property with the requisite number of people. I think that link with that proposal and the art museum is critical for that area. It will bring the entire area up. If we can house it, if we can get the proper number of people in there. The creative economy in Fitchburg is alive and well, and we need to foster that through efforts like this. So I'm hoping that they'll be able to get that staffed up. Nick Capasso at the Art Museum is a big proponent of this, and we can understand why. It will grow the cultural economy in Fitchburg even more than what it is, because it is alive and well and vibrant. Thank you.
In order to be able to fund this project, we need to first look also at grants. We need to also look at, again, private funding, in order to be able to see if we can house, as Mr. DiNatale said, the artists, which will be coming to live there. Can we fill that building? That's a question. I think Mr. Capasso would actually be able to help out, and I think the art museum should be able to help out in that situation. Right now we're still looking at it, and it needs to be studied further, I believe.
We have 2 minutes for further comment.
Personally, I'm all for it. I think it's a great idea, but I think it should be completely funded privately, and I think it should not become another drain on the city. We don't need any more nonprofit institutions not having to pay taxes, and of course it decreases our tax base. That's not a good thing. Artist is wonderful, but the fact of the matter is it has to cover itself.
Other thoughts? All right, then we will move to round number 8. And I will ask Josh to pose his question to Miguel.
Thank you. Many observers look at the number of city properties owned and managed by absentee landlords as one of the impediments to the city's renaissance. What would you do to bring landlords who are not in the city to the table?
if any of the landlords have any buildings that do not meet the codes, and we don't have a mandate to make them responsible, we need to do that immediately. We need to make them responsible, fine them heavily if they don't comply, and then we need to move also in taking them to lose the property. I've seen, as I walk to house, I see many properties that are in such bad conditions that the resident has brought me in and showed me, and I had tears in my eyes, just looking at how some children were growing in there, but they have no other choice. So, as mayor, I will make these landlords responsible, and they're going to have to get the buildings up to codes and get them fixed and get them going for the city.
Thank you. What I would propose is a landlord registry through the assessor's office. Right now, when we try to locate some of these absentee landlords, that's the challenge. It's very, very difficult to reach them. We need to do that not only because of public safety issues, which is police and fire. They should know who they have to contact. But simply to say to this property owner, what are you planning on doing with your property? You don't have to sell it, but get out there and clean it up. Now, I'd like to redouble the efforts of the NICE committee, the Neighborhood Improvement through Code Enforcement group that meets on a regular basis. City councilors are here tonight. They attend those meetings as well. Let's redouble those efforts and work with our assistant solicitor, Mark Goldstein, who does a great job in housing court. We need to redouble those efforts as well. What I've had discussions with him, what we talked about is how can we make that transition, that process more rapid so we can move these houses off those rolls, either get them to be improved or demolish them with the funding. Thank you.
Unfortunately, you cannot force a private property owner really to do anything unless it's through code enforcement. Now, these code enforcements will need to be redoubled, and we're also going to need to work with the building department in order to be able to enforce these codes. You know, a landlord registry was actually proposed by the city council in 2006, and the city council voted that down. You know, right now, I think a registry would be a good idea, and it should have been taken care of a long time ago. Right now, there are numerous vacant buildings as well as dilapidated buildings that need to be worked on. And the only way we can do that is through code enforcement and fining.
Pass a city ordinance that makes these property owners have to keep their electricity on and their water on. That would be a good start. And then, if they don't respond, within 30 days, we post an ad like they do all the time in the back of the Boston Globe. And then the city can take possession of it. And then these properties, we can do whatever we want. We could actually tear them down and use them to put solar facilities on, mini farms all around the city.
Okay. We have an additional 2 minutes again for further thought.
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with creating another registry. You know, that's more bureaucracy. That's more of, you know, you're going to create a registry now. You're going to have to hire more people and to deal with that. That's bureaucracy. You know, there's already in the books, there's laws that will hold these landlords responsible. I mean, I own 2 properties in Fitchburg, so I'm a very responsible landlord. So what I've seen out there is that they don't even care, but another registry is not the way, I don't feel is the way we should go.
Mr. DiNatale, in 2006, you were on the city council and you voted the landlord registry down. Can you explain why? And why is it different now?
That was in 06. I'm not sure what the situation was in 06.
So you don't have any memory of it?
I have a memory of it, but I'm telling you I'm not sure what the factors were that led me to vote that way.
But you do admit that you voted it down in 2006.
Well, if I did, yeah, okay. Thank you.
Good for you, Andrew.
Anything else? Okay, then we will move to question number 9, and I'll ask Stephanie to pose her question to Stephen DiNatale.
Please tell us who had the biggest influence on your professional life and describe that influence.
I'm sorry, the first part of that question again?
Please tell us who had the biggest influence on your professional life and describe that influence.
My professional life. Well, all aspects of my life, my greatest influence was my father. Just taught me to be the person that I am today. And he's no longer with us, but I live under the premise that he taught me to do the right thing. And that's what I've tried to do in my life. Thank you.
My biggest influence in my life right now is my parents, who are here today. And they taught me the value of hard work. They taught me you can get anywhere through hard work. And that's exactly what I will do for the city, is I will put my shoulder to the task and raise the city up to the place where it should be.
I'd have to agree with both the gentlemen. My father was definitely my biggest influence, and I also had my grandfather, who was a wonderful thing, and I hope everybody has a grandfather. I know sometimes we lose them early, but they showed me that through perseverance and dedication and honesty, that you can achieve anything you want. And so thank you.
Every morning when I get up, I have a picture of 1981 newspaper clipping on my father in the refrigerator. I look at him behind a desk, learning English, new immigrant in this country. He stood up against communism, against the regime in Cuba. He was jailed. He gave me the knowledge and the strength to be who I am today, to fight for my family, for everything that I do, to look at another man straight in his eyes and tell him exactly how I feel and how we should respect each other. My father has been a very influential person in everything that I do. However, as I look at my wife right there, she's my biggest supporter. And everything she does, and we work together, and we do together, we do it for the best of our family. She's been great to my parents before they passed. She was like a daughter to them. So I love you. And now, my father's the best. I love my father and my mother.
Any additional comments there? Okay. Then that takes us to the final question, and I ask Charlie to pose that question to Andrew, please.
Thank you. All of you would agree, no doubt, that the public safety is important to the city's health. Can you identify other areas of the city budget that you would cut from in order to pay for hiring additional police officers?
Yes, we need more police, and I will advocate for more police. But we just can't do it all at once. I wish we could. But what we have to do is we have to find the root problem of the crime in this city. Where would I pull the money from to get the police? Through more businesses, expanding the tax base. We need to get more businesses in here in order to be able to do anything. In addition to that, we also need to utilize the alternative energy sources in the municipal buildings to free up more money. Right now, most of our funds are going to DiNatale, unfortunately. We need to cut our energy costs, and we can do that through alternative energy. That'll free up money, in order to be able to provide more police. In addition to that, we also needed a couple of canine units. We were the only city that does not have canine units. We have to borrow them. And what we can do is we can get those through grants. The training, as well as the equipment, can be utilized all through grants.
Could you repeat the question again, please?
Sure. All of you would agree that public safety is an important factor to a city's health. Can you identify other areas of the city budget that you would be willing to cut from in order to pay for hiring additional police officers?
Absolutely. The de-letting program that's currently exists in the city with Liz Murphy and Rick Green, I would absolutely cut that department. And I would force landlords to make sure the lead is removed from their house if they're going to be selling to anybody that has children under the age of 6 years old.
At the moment, I would say I would not cut anything. I will have to get in there and then look at the budget line by line and then make decisions. As far as police, we got about 70 police officers. We need a little more police officers. We can utilize state and federal funding in order to increase police officer to a good number. However, DPW is also hurting. And I think we need to concentrate on getting DPW to come in. If we get once we get businesses into the city and our budget increase, then we'll have the money to continue hiring more police officers. As far as the canines, canines are all great and everything, but majority of the time they sit in the back of the cruiser and they only need it when they're required. So, we need good old community policing. Back to good old-fashioned community policing and have the officers walk the beat. We need more bike patrols. So that's what I want to propose with the chief if I'm the next mayor.
It's not just about the police, although the chief is here this evening. He and I have spoken often about the fact that he would like to have 5 more officers. And I think that's a great goal to strive toward. The challenge is going to be in finding it, as Mr. San Armand mentions, within the budget. I would have to assemble my finance team once I take over as mayor to find out where we've got areas of the budget that we can cut. Now, it's not just about the police. I established a group that it's about relationships. I established a group 2 months ago, and the chief was part of it, as well as the chief of the Fitchburg State University Police, along with the district attorney's office, the sheriff's department, and the court and probation's department. That's the issue, along with the community corrections facility in Claygon. The courts like that program in Claygon because it works. And it gets people off the streets and gets them into programming and cleans up their act. We need to redouble those efforts, but how you do that is by relationships. Those kinds of meetings that have to happen on a regular basis. And I will see that we do that on a regular basis. Because when you know who you're talking to across the table, because you see them every month, it makes a difference. And they'll pick the phone up for you and get things done. Thank you.
We have 2 minutes for additional thoughts in this area. Nothing? Okay, then we will conclude the question and answer period. I thank the candidates, thank the panelists. We now offer you each 2 minutes to generate some concluding remarks, and we'll go the reverse way this time, and we'll start with Miguel.
I'm very humble to everybody. I feel humble to the city of Fitchburg. I've been deployed twice, and I've seen, as I come back, how the city has gotten worse and worse. Crime, roads, lack of businesses. I'm fed up. I want to do something about it. That's why I'm standing up to the plate. That's why I'm coming to you, the people of Fitchburg, and asking you to hire me as the next mayor. You are going to be my employer. I work for you. I will answer to you. I am here to serve you, not the other way around. You don't serve me. So we need to immediately get together and bring everybody together to get everything that needs to get done. We could do it. I know we can. I see potential. The question is, who's going to be, the hard worker to come and bring it on? I will bring it on. This is who I'm going to be. I will immediately get with everybody in the department. If you call me, and my office will be open 24/7. You will have direct access to me. You are not going to have to go through a third or fourth person. I will show up in your house or the street that you got some problems. I will show up with the department head, and you will point it out, and it will get done. It's that simple. People have to be held accountable. So I'm looking forward to working with the people and getting everybody together, united. We can do it. Let's do it. Thank you.
Yes, I have a question for Mr. DiNatale.
We're doing concluding remarks. 2 minutes.
If you want a bright future, if you want someone who comes from a background of being around the world, meeting all sorts of people, dealing with entertainers, dealing with business people, I will work tirelessly to bring every single business that we can use to drive our economy so you won't have to drive 2 hours back and forth every day going down to Cambridge or Boston to go get a job, or to Worcester. It's time to utilize all of the wonderful resources we have and let people know Fitchburg is open for business.
I bring the future to Fitchburg. I bring new ideas with a legal mind. I bring also the ability to think outside the box. There's a problem. Sometimes you have to think outside the box. As a lawyer, that's what I have to do. I've been thrown curveballs by judges many different times. You got to think on your feet. The same way as running this city. You got to think on your feet because you never know exactly what's going to come your way next. And that's what I'm going to do. I also know the value of hard work. I was raised on a farm as a kid. I worked at a paper mill in order to be able to pay my way through college and law school. And I'm going to be able to put that hard work into repairing the city. I bring business ideas. I've helped businesses start up. I've also worked for businesses as their lawyer. I've seen the problems. I also see the problems in the city. Been living here for a long time now, and I'm tired of seeing the city just never changing. It's always the same old in Fitchburg. And I bring new ideas, and I bring a future for Fitchburg. Thank you.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank both the Sentinel and Enterprise and Fitchburg State University for hosting this evening's debate. I would also like to thank FATV for broadcasting. Tonight I speak to the people of Fitchburg. My friends, I see what you see. I hear what you hear. I experience what you experience. I've knocked on nearly 5,000 doors, and your response has been gratifying, to say the least. I have felt a strong sense of anticipation and excitement at the prospect of my candidacy. I've lived in our city for nearly 40 years with my wife, Joanne. We've raised our 2 children, Marcus and Alexandra, here in the city. Our lives are woven into the fabric that is Fitchburg. I have devoted nearly 15 years of public service to the residents of our city. As your state representative, my office has provided assistance to countless residents of Fitchburg, including veterans, the elderly, the disabled, and those who are displaced. My constituents know that when they are in need, I will respond. I will bring that same dedication to the office of mayor. I've established and maintained relationships both state and locally that are invaluable to the future of our community. I am ready on day one to apply that extensive experience in municipal and state government that is a must if we are to improve the lives of our citizens. I'm asking the voters to cast their vote on September 22nd for me, Steve DiNatale, for mayor, a vote that will make our lives better. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to thank all the candidates for participating. I'd like to thank all the candidates this evening for participating, thank our panelists. I'd like to thank the Central and Enterprise and FTA TV for broadcasting this to the broader public. Please, as Mr. DiNatale suggests, you go out and vote on September 22nd, cast your vote, make your voice heard. And with that, I wish you a good evening. Thank you.